The NBA playoffs kicked off this week, and one team just missed the cut.
And the Hornets squad is returning to the Queen City shattered after falling short against the Orlando Magic in their first.
Just when you think the Hornets could do something, it will go wrong.
Yeah, definitely not the outcome that fans wanted to see for the season, but we did see a pretty great.
I'm just happy that we even made it this far because, I mean, we normally get eliminated right off the bat.
Heartbreak is nothing new for fans of the Charlotte Hornets. This is the 10th year in a row where the team will not be competing for an NBA championship. It's the longest playoff drought in North American professional sports. But while the Hornets have struggled to make an impact on the court for much of their history, there is one place where they are the undisputed champions: fashion.
The Washington Post headline was my most memorable. It said, "Hoop Couture. Julian designs pro uniforms and is paid in pork." It just, it went everywhere, and everybody was so excited about it. When the team finally came out, they just went crazy.
I'm Anissa Khalifa. This is The Broadside, where we tell stories from our home at the crossroads of the South. This week, how a pro basketball team and a barbecue-loving fashion designer made purple and teal the unofficial colors of the 90s.
Well, there are the uniforms designed by the New York designer. They are pleated. They are teal, blue, and white. What is the league coming to, folks?
This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com offers a wide array of hotels and vacation rentals across the U.S., so you can find exactly what you're booking for. There's literally something for everyone, even those who are impossible to please. Whether you're booking for yourself, your partner, your picky teens, your sleep light, rise early mom, or your high-maintenance group chat, you can find exactly what you're booking for. For me, when I'm booking a stay, I already know I need a few very specific things. I'm talking blackout curtains because I hate waking up to sunlight, a comfy bed that actually feels like a hotel bed, and enough space so I don't feel cramped after a long day. And if I'm booking with my girlfriends, it's a whole different checklist. We're looking for a place with room to spread out, somewhere close to restaurants and the latest nightclubs, and honestly, just a stay that fits everyone's vibe without compromise. That's why I love that if I can find my perfect stay on Booking.com, anyone can. Find exactly what you're booking for. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Book today on the site or in the app.
Dear listener, today we are taking you back to 1988. Ronald Reagan was president.
My fellow Americans, this week was the start of the 8th year of my presidency.
Greed was good.
An Oliver Stone film. Wall Street. Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
And the very first computer virus began to spread on the early internet, a full year before the World Wide Web as we know it would even exist. But here in North Carolina, the biggest news was the arrival of professional basketball. On November 4th, 1988, the Charlotte Hornets made their debut in the NBA. Like most expansion sports teams, they were overmatched and frankly, kind of terrible. They lost that first game by 40 points, and things wouldn't get much better. The Hornets finished with the second worst record in the league that year, but they looked incredible while doing it. Purple, teal, and pinstriped. The jersey and shorts they wore that year were the work of one visionary.
In '81, I was the youngest inductee to the Fashion Hall of Fame at the time.
This is Alexander Julian. We called him up and asked him to tell us the unlikely story of how he became an important part of basketball history. In the late 1980s, he was a young fashion designer having big success. Along with folks like Ralph Lauren, he was at the forefront of bringing high fashion to the masses and one of the icons of preppy style.
I beat Calvin Klein for the first Cutty Sark Menswear Award. I'm given credit for bringing a tasteful color into modern American menswear.
But he was also a major college basketball fan.
I was born and raised in Chapel Hill. If you don't like basketball and you're born and raised in Chapel Hill, they leave you on the edge of that town over there called Durham.
As the Hornets prepared for their NBA debut, they needed to find someone to design their jerseys. And they wanted to make a splash. So instead of going to a sports apparel company, they chose Alexander, a North Carolinian with high fashion cred.
And so I was the first professional fashion designer to design NBA uniforms. It was completely unheard of. It was revolutionary.
When George Shin, the owner of the new team, initially reached out to Alexander about the project, he didn't offer much guidance, but he did ask if it would be possible to incorporate some of the colors that architects had chosen for the new team's arena. As Shin ran down the list, one jumped out.
And I said, teal. And he said, yeah, teal. I said, teal is one of my signature colors. Teal and purple are two of my signature colors. I use them because they look good on every skin tone. And they were not in the NBA at that time.
He quickly got to work on the prototypes. Along with his trademark colors, he added a few other Alexander Julian touches. Pinstripes, knitted into the jerseys.
And then I did the world's first pleated basketball shorts.
That's right, pleated basketball shorts. The bold colors were already a big leap, but the shorts were a major change from what was popular at the time, in more ways than one.
I was influenced by Michael Jordan as a Tar Heel, and who was playing in the NBA and was wearing oversized shorts and nobody else was. And so I increased the length of the shorts and the circumference of the legs so that it was a longer, baggy short.
Now, he says they were baggy, but you can watch the dramatic unveiling of the original uniform on YouTube. And I will just say, these shorts are very short and quite tight. Still, there were a lot of nerves about how it would all go over, and a lot of eyeballs were following the story.
We had incredible national press before they played the first game. And part of it is because of my payment choice.
As we've already established, Alexander is a proud North Carolinian.
Well, I'm a Tar Heel born, a Tar Heel bred, and when I die, I'm a Tar Heel dead.
And that led him to come up with one of the most unusual contracts in American history.
My first trip down to Charlotte to work on these, and George said, am I going to be able to afford you to design these for me? And I said, George, it would be my honor to design these free of charge. I'd be honored to do this. But if you sell copies of these uniforms, I'd like my usual 5%.
But due to complicated rules about profit sharing within the NBA, Shin claimed he couldn't give him a cut of the sales.
So I said, well, let me think about it. So, I was living in Connecticut, and it occurred to me early one morning, what good is more money if you can't buy Carolina barbecue in Connecticut, So I called him up and I said, George, I got a deal for you. What is it? I said, I'll trade you ownership of the Hornets uniform design for 5 pounds of Carolina barbecue a month, FedEx to me in Connecticut. And I think he was rather pleased, shall we say, that he had been able to pull that off.
With attention and pressure mounting, the Hornets finally unveiled the uniforms at a press conference featuring Alexander and player Kelly Tripucka.
Kelly Tripucka.
It was a major heart in your throat kind of thing to see if people were going to go for that. And they went for it in a huge, huge, huge way.
Hello again, everybody. Along with Steve Jones, Skip Carey welcoming you to another night of NBA basketball.
Despite the fact that the Hornets lacked a superstar player, it was one of the most popular jerseys that the NBA had ever seen.
This is the hottest ticket in a long time in Charlotte.
And they flew off the shelves.
And so I traded my usual 5% for 5 pounds of Carolina barbecue, and they sold 300 million. So I basically, George got rich and I got fat.
The influence of the design was widespread and unmistakable. According to the sports fashion blog UniWatch, of the 22 new or renamed major North American sports teams in the 1990s, 11 used at least one of Alexander's signature colors. 2 used both purple and teal. But they all owe a debt of gratitude to Alexander Julian and the 1988 Charlotte Hornets.
It's a sign that you did the right thing. It's flattering and yet at the same time concerning a bit because you take a huge risk to bring out something new and as scary as can be, and then it goes over big, and it goes over so big that everybody copies it.
Coming up after the break, we'll dive into the lasting impact of this iconic fit and find out how the design launched a worldwide sports fashion craze, along with a little help from another famous North Carolinian.
Jordan with 2 seconds left. Jordan to win! Michael Jordan being Michael Jordan. What a heartbreaking loss for Charlotte.
Hey, it's Anissa. Here on The Broadside, we especially love to tell stories that don't necessarily pop up in headlines, or about communities that often get overlooked. So on May 13th, we're excited to bring some of those stories to you live and in person. Join us at Cary Theater from 7 to 9 p.m. for an evening of Asian American storytelling, where journalism, performance, and community will all come together. The event will center live storytelling of the forgotten histories and present-day experiences of Asian Americans in North Carolina. And you'll get a sneak peek at an unreleased episode with bonus content and live music. You'll have a chance to ask questions and share your thoughts, and you'll take home an exclusive piece of art by a local Asian American artist. Join us on May 13th at the Cary Theater to reflect, connect, and help shape the story. Get your tickets at wunc.org/events.
Hi, I'm pianist Manny Axe. On my new podcast, Classical Music Happy Hour, my guests and I talk about life and music, and we also like to play games. Is it a composer or is it cheese?
Oh, I know this game.
Knowing Mozart, it's probably all of the above.
It's all of the above. Is this a fake or was this a flop?
Flop.
That's more mistakes than I made in my last recital. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The 1988 Charlotte Hornets jersey helped fuel a global movement that changed basketball and fashion for good. And the rise of sports fashion is something that writer, documentary filmmaker, and style maven Crystal McCrary McGuire witnessed firsthand. Crystal has a unique and personal connection to the topic.
I would say my closest introduction to basketball fashion, quite honestly, would be when my former husband played for the New York Knicks in the 90s.
Crystal says, while the purple and teal Hornets combo of the late 80s and 90s was one of the first pieces of NBA apparel to really start a broader fashion trend, you can't talk about that era without mentioning the impact of another figure who also emerged from North Carolina, Michael Jordan.
Right. Well, one of the things about Michael Jordan, coming out of North Carolina, going to UNC, my son Cole Anthony, who plays in the NBA now, he also went to UNC, go Tar Heels. I got to get that in there. The influence and impact and reach of the NBA grew exponentially under the marketing opportunities that came about because of Michael Jordan. This singular, once in a 2-generation player who was so extraordinary on the court, but also just incredibly marketable off the court. And he was essentially this brand ambassador for the NBA, a global brand ambassador. Here you have a Black athlete on a cereal box that families of every color, every ethnicity, every religion would see this, Black man's face on their cereal box in the morning.
And has one bowl of whole grain Wheaties with breakfast.
You better eat your Wheaties.
But that's how much Michael Jordan became a part of the zeitgeist. And that sort of being the backdrop of this Charlotte Hornets jersey, it just was an expansion of the boldness and the reach of anything within the NBA ecosystem.
Connecting the dots to today, how would you define basketball fashion? Like, what is basketball fashion?
Well, basketball fashion today, now it's inextricably linked to a player's personal brand, a player's personal sense of identity, which varies from player to player.
And Crystal says that extends beyond the court. This display of individual style has become such a big part of the culture surrounding the sport that pre-game tunnel walks into arenas have become must-see TV. It's almost like a runway, with commentators and fans critiquing every player's street clothes.
Barclays tonight?
Man, what the hell is that?
Well, you don't like his outfit?
Hell no, I don't like his outfit.
I like his kicks.
Well, I like his kicks. The shoes, the best thing about the outfit.
It flows. It flows.
It does not flow.
It does.
It could be flow.
But NBA style can also strike a more serious tone.
We see players now who use fashion for protest. Whether they're wearing, remember they were wearing the I Can't Breathe t-shirts after Eric Garner's death by the police in New York. And the NBA has come on board with that as well, understanding that social justice and criminal justice reform is something very important to their players. And so, of course, they have to reflect what is important to their players. But then I've also seen, players now with their personal brand expressing themselves, fashion through their hair, fashion through body art and tattoos, fashion through their jewelry. And of course, high fashion, because you now have players that over the last decade plus that are fixtures at New York Fashion Week, fixtures at Paris Fashion Week, sitting next to Anna Wintour.
And do you think, outside of the basketball world, outside of the fashion world, for people who aren't closely connected, who aren't fans, has it changed the way we dress? Has it changed the way that people relate to fashion in any way?
Well, I think it's similar with any sort of celebrity, public figure, icon. You have people looking to what they're wearing to, imitate it. In the fashion space, they're looking to capitalize on the following and influence of the NBA players that have this massive fan base, domestically and globally.
Today, players are style icons on and off the court. NBA teams in particular obsess over every aspect of their uniform designs, sometimes releasing 4 or 5 variations a year. And sports jersey sales are a big business that generates billions of dollars annually. The world of sports fashion has come a long way since the debut of the Charlotte Hornets. But even way back then, fashion designer Alexander Julian could see a glimpse of the future. Whenever he's asked about the impact of his iconic purple and teal uniform design, he's reminded of a phone call he received in 1991 from Hornets owner George Shinn.
And he said, Alec, I just went to China, and guess what happened? I was on an airplane in China, and there was a boy wearing a Hornets cap. And I got a translator, and I went over and I said, tell me, do you love the Hornets? And the boy said, I don't know who the Hornets are. I just like the colors.
This episode of The Broadside was produced by me, Anissa Khalifa, and our editor, Jared Walker. The rest of our team includes producer Charlie Shelton Ormond and executive producer Wilson Sayre. This week, we used archival audio from NBC, ESPN, OBS and Julio, TNT, and WCNC and WBTV in Charlotte. The Broadside is a production of WUNC News in North Carolina and is part of the NPR network. If you have feedback or a story idea, you can email us at broadside@wunc.org. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a rating, a review, or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll be back next week.
TV has thousands of free movies and TV shows.
We're coming at you with everything we got.
This is the mindset. Free. This is the mantra. Free. This is the mindset. With movies like Pineapple Express, the entire Star Trek film franchise, and Gladiator, and TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts, Pluto TV is always free. Huzzah! Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.